Dear friends, producers, consumers, I'm Marinela Ardelean, founder of Wines of Romania, and here with me I have Demetri Walters, Master of Wine. Demetri, welcome to Wines of Romania.
Bună ziua, and thank you for having me.
This is the surprise, Demetri.
2 words. Wow. I can't remember much more.
Well, it was already a surprise for me. For those who didn't know, you have some experience with the Romanian wines,
I do. Yes.
And not only during the competitions, like the London Wine Competition, where we met last month, last month. And I very, very much enjoyed and appreciate your approach to wine and your vision and insights. And I said directly, we should have an interview and sharing your perspective and opinion about not only wine industry, but also about the Romanian wine. So let's start with your experience about the Romanian wine or Romania, actually, because you mentioned that you've been here in the past.
My memories of Romania started in the 1980s. My father was British military attaché in the Ceausescu years, not such good years for Romania, but I developed a great love of the country and an appreciation for the beauty of the place and the people as well. So those are my earliest memories when I was 16 to 18 years old. You can get an idea of how old I am because Mr. Ceausescu was very much alive. And I've been back as well and judged a competition and visited some of the regions that were really laboring under communism in years gone by. So we were talking just before we came on air about people like Avincis and Crama Septura and other producers. So I've had some experience of Romanian wine both there and here, and I have a very high regard for it. And no doubt we're going to talk about how to project the image of Romanian wine into the wider world.
I would very much love if you would like to introduce a bit yourself, because for probably those which are or a master of wine or in your how to say in your community, because you are living in UK and we know that the biggest community of experts in Europe, let's say, is based very, very often in UK. So first of all, besides educator, presenter, and sourcing, why not the wines for the market where you are operating? What means a master of wine? I'm asking for the consumers and the wine lovers which are watching this interview.
Okay, so first off, I am a master of wine living in the UK. I'm half Greek Cypriot, hence the face and the name Demetri. My father is British and my parents met in Cyprus during the emergency back in the 1950s when Cyprus was a British colony. 1960 it became independent and the rest, they say, is history. What I do now, and we can come on to my background a bit later if you want to, it kind of defines who I am and the way I think. What I do now, the last 5 years I've been independent. I spent some 20 years at Berry Brothers and Rudd, a very ancient family-owned independent merchant dating from the late 17th century. And since then, I've been working on my own, trying to find out what it is that I can offer. I'm a consultant, so I help brands identify their story and to tell their story in a congruent and coherent way. I'm a partner in a wine sourcing business for Greece and Cyprus, mainly Greece. We don't import wine, we import producers, and we match up these producers to the right distribution for the time being in the UK, but no doubt it'll spread beyond the UK.
May I ask you, Demetri, what Greek wine might have in common with Romanian wine?
Their perception in the marketplace might be a common theme: native grapes, an old story, an undertold story. So It's an old story that's being retold about interesting and captivating native grapes. You know, you have the Fetească family in Romania. You have wonderful ancient grapes like Tămâioasa, and so on and so forth. Well, Greece, of course, is the same. And many of these varieties go back into the mists of time, and that's what people want now.
Mm-hmm. Did you notice any important change or challenge after the Brexit?
Well, you know, we all have our own political views. I think Brexit was a disaster. I certainly didn't vote for it, and we're paying for it now. But it is getting better, and Britain will get closer to Europe again. Let's face it, right now, we need to. I think we need each other more than ever. So things
for the
have
wine
changed.
industry, Demetri, for the wine industry, for the
Absolutely,
wine.
for everything. But for the wine industry, it's harder shipping wine because of Brexit. It's more expensive. It's just more complicated and bureaucratic. There's no real benefit that I can think of. Someone can spin you a benefit, but I don't believe that there are any. So yeah, it's become harder. For instance, I have had a number of Italian students, Master of Wine Program students. 2 of them have now passed. A third one is about to pass. And I used to send them wines. It was very easy when we were part of the EU. But in, when was it, December or January? It's either December 2020 or January 21, that all changed and everything became difficult. We became a third country. There's an otherness to that situation that makes life difficult. And it's difficult for Romanian wine to come into the UK. It's more complicated than before, a bit more expensive than before. But this is life. We have to deal with it. So I don't generally talk about it or complain about it unless someone asks me about it, because we have to deal with the reality of what there is now.
What about the USA tariffs and what actually is happening currently? What's the perception?
Who knows? I was in the States last week. I was doing some work in California and Oregon last week, and no one really knows what's happening. They're bemused by it, confused by it, and very much against it. You know, I was representing a cork business that I consult for, and we're waiting for clarity on the tariffs. Now, the fact that the tariffs didn't come into effect at their full rate is good news. The fact that the tariffs haven't gone away is bad news and creates confusion and flux in the marketplace. The wine market and the financial markets are very much intertwined. One follows the other. You know, the wine market follows the various economic markets. So we'll see what happens. We're still all being tariffed, but just at 10% for the moment. So let's see what happens. The reality of tariffs is bad news for everyone. Hopefully that'll sink in over the next 90 days.
What's your experience with the Romanian wine in the UK market?
Not much in the UK market, because unfortunately there isn't much. Getting into the UK is difficult. It's challenging. It's a very mature and congested market. However, being here is very important because it's a very vivid and buoyant market. That's an important market to be in. So I think Romania could do better at getting representation in the UK, and it's a long game. At the bottom end of the market, of course, we see all the international varieties that don't really represent Romania. They make certain producers who peddle large volumes of these wines a lot of money. But does Merlot represent Romania? Does Pinot Noir represent Romania? I don't think so. They can both be very good from Romania, but I think Fetească Neagră and Negru de Drăgășani and Tămâioasa and so on and so forth, they represent Romania. Getting them into the market, because they're a little bit more expensive, they're a little bit harder to make, they're less well known, they rely on wine buyers taking a risk. Yeah, they'll take time. But that's all it is. It's a waiting game.
So besides the fact, besides choosing the native grapes by the producers interested on exporting, any advice that you would like to share with the producers who are looking to explore markets like UK?
Gosh, I suppose I am paid for advice, to give advice, but I have nothing new to tell you other than I think as producers, the best thing you can do is cooperate with each other. The united front is what wins the day. Get together under the auspices of your generic body that represents Romania and attend trade shows. Pour those wines, get buyers to taste as many of those wines as you possibly can. Of course, the cash, the low margin but cash wines are the international varieties. But the native varieties are the wines that will win the hearts and minds of the wine trade in this country. And it's just a matter of coming to the London Wine Fair, of being present at various wine fairs, of doing independent wine shows. Come on the road with various producers and represent your region, or represent your country, or represent the majority grape or blend in your region. I think that's the way.
What are which kind of wines are currently doing well in the UK market?
Okay, this is anecdotal, and it depends at which end of the market. We have a very diverse market here. So the mass market end of the spectrum doesn't change much. The wines don't have a whole lot of personality, and they are variety driven. And they generally have some residual sugar and they have charm, but they don't really talk about the country or the region so much. I think orange wines, so skin fermented white wines, are gaining traction. Wines from indigenous, native varieties. This is why Greece and Cyprus are gaining traction in the market. It's why southern Italy, or Italy as a whole, is gaining traction. It's why Spain is producing some interesting wines. I think lighter wines seem to be doing better than those heavily extracted oaky wines of yesteryear, which are still around and they have an appreciation. So I think the organic wine movement is definitely gaining traction. Native grapes, definitely gaining traction. I think wines with a story, wines with a history to them. These are the wines that people are looking at because the world is awash with international varieties. We know what Chardonnay tastes like. We know how good it can be. Does it represent Romania? Don't think so. It can be good, but I think you have to tell your story. And it's stories that people really want. And that's what's winning the hearts and minds of engaged consumers now. So if you go into a wine bar or a restaurant that has a really interesting wine list, it's those sort of wines that predominate. If you look on the shelf of a supermarket, you don't see an awful lot. Their wine lists have shrunk. They've gone down to a rump compared to what they used to be. And they still tell a story, though. You'll still find the odd Romanian wine, the odd Greek wine. And they're the ones made from native varieties. So I think native grapes are the majority of the story because they tell such a story.
When we've judged it together during the London wine competition, we had to evaluate also the packaging, which were 25% of the final score, if I remember. What do you think about the packaging from more perspectives? First of all, for example, in the UK market, what kind of labels are requested or appreciated by the consumers? On the other hand, what are the trends internationally speaking, and which other insights would you like to share about labels and the packaging?
Yeah. This is subjective, isn't it? There were four of us at the table, and we were a bit rude about some of the labels and some of the packaging. I think what needs to change in packaging is heavyweight glass. It's bad for the environment. It's expensive to produce. It's expensive to ship. And most producers, particularly those who are, most consumers, sorry, particularly those who are engaged, can see through it. It doesn't say I'm expensive. It just really, I think it upsets too many people. We live in an age where, despite the worst intentions of certain people around the world, we actually do care about our planet more than we have for a long time, and we need to. So I think packaging needs to be sensible and recyclable. I think packaging has to fit the value of the wine. You know, you don't see the very straightforward, almost simple, classic labels of Château Latour or Château Lafite on bulk wine. It doesn't wash, doesn't work. So I think high volume, low value wines need exciting, vivid labeling that captures the less engaged consumer. And the more engaged the consumer, the more the label needs to reflect what they're looking for. Because a lot of people buy wine on the label. It's a terrible thing to imagine, but that's what happens. You know, there might be a horse on the label. There might be anything. So labels have to tell a story, but they have to be congruent with what's in the bottle, what's in the bag and box, what's in the pouch. So I think alternative packaging is very important. And there are certain markets that appreciate alternative packaging much more. So the Scandinavian monopolies, and Denmark as well, really appreciate bag and box. And you find good wine going into bag and box. In this market and in Germany, you don't find, and two big wine markets of Europe, you don't find so many foreign wines coming into Germany or into the UK of a high quality in bag and box. I think that has to change. And I think pouches, I think they're catching on. Certainly in this market, cans, you know, tinned wine is catching on. Generally, it's pretty ordinary stuff. Doesn't have to be, though. It's been proven you can put really good wine into a can. As long as it's ready to drink, why wouldn't you? If you want the wine to develop and appreciate, put it in a bottle. If it's going to improve, you put it in a bottle, maybe with a driven cork or an agglomerate cork or perhaps a more reductive screw cap. So I think, in answer to your question, the packaging has to suit the market and it has to suit the value of the wine. And it really is more than just the label. It's the whole concept.
But any trends which you are noticing during this stage, let's say, because as we can look to the wine, for example, less barrique, easy to drink, lower alcohol. So maybe some similar things adapted to the packaging, which you might want to share.
Yes, well, in terms of trends, lower alcohol. So wines that are lower alcohol anyway, because of the way they're made or because of their altitude or because of the grapes, yeah, they're definitely gaining traction. Lighter wines.
Demetri, in terms of labeling, do we have, or are you noticing any trend, like, I don't know, less graphic or more color or more?
Well, if I comment on that, it's just anecdotal, and I don't trawl through wine shops and supermarkets, so I can't give you anything other than an anecdotal trend. I just notice that wine labels are becoming more exciting. That I think the more classic labels really only suit the more classic wines at the top level. And I think alternative packaging and more vivid labeling are certainly gaining traction. When it comes to alternative contents, alternative wines, then, which you just chanced on or just mentioned, I think lower alcohol wine is becoming more important. And sadly, in my view, no alcohol wine, because I don't think wine without alcohol really relates to people, well, like you and me as wine. Of course, it is important. I drink it very occasionally. I think beer has stolen a march on wine. There are some really good no alcohol beers. But one thing that really makes wine exciting, makes us feel good, sometimes it makes us feel bad if we drink too much of it, is alcohol. Alcohol is a solvent for flavor. Alcohol adds body. Alcohol exaggerates acidity. All these things. So certainly, I can see value in low alcohol wine, natural or manipulated. No alcohol wine, not really something I'm interested in, but I can see the value in it for certain markets.
Yeah, definitely. And it's also a matter of marketing. It's also a new category somehow that is developing for drinks, let's say, which wants to be related to wine as well. Because I don't think that a wine drinker will end up drinking and choosing wine without alcohol, a serious wine drinker, let's say. So this is my personal opinion.
But you know what? There are lots of people around the world who can't drink.
Exactly.
They can't drink because they've had a bad experience in life with drink, and they're recovering. So a non-alcoholic drink certainly gets my vote. But it's a little bit like someone who doesn't eat meat or doesn't eat poultry or doesn't eat fish, making the vegetables look like the animal product. You know, a vegetarian sausage, why? Why would you have a nut steak or a cheese made out of nuts? Do something different, do something authentic. I think non-alcoholic wine, I don't really see the point in it. Non-alcoholic distillate, I definitely see the point. They've been proven to be delicious and a great alternative to gin or vodka.
So for the producers, I understood that you are offering also consultancy, especially for the market with where are you based? But for the consumers and those who would like to participate or to attend a masterclass or a public speaking in the wine industry, where or which are the next ones which you might want to share with our audience?
You know, I do very little with the public. Sorry, public. I do very little with you. I deal with the trade. So you'll see me at trade shows. You'll see me representing wine regions and maybe sub-wine regions. So, for instance, recently I was in Cyprus talking about high-altitude viticulture. Viticulture above 1,000 meters, up to about 1,500 or so meters. And that's the kind of thing I talk about. But generally nowadays, I don't do so much with the public. That's not to say I won't. It's just right now. You know, I've done some TV in the past. I've done some public speaking at trade fairs on the public days, but not for a little while. I have just written a book with two friends, one an Israeli, one a Lebanese. If we can do it, surely their governments can do it. I'm writing the Cypriot part. It's Wines of the Levant. And the quick plug here is that if Mr. Netanyahu and Hamas can come to an agreement, the book might even get published. It was going to be published this coming month, but you know, it's been kicked down the road a bit.
Well, Demetri, I am I'm happy and grateful at the same time for having this opportunity talking about wine industry, not only Romanian wine. And unfortunately, no producers from Romania will attend the London Wine Fair this year.
It's a shame. Yeah.
Yes, I
They
just
need
had
to.
exactly. But I think that after your advice or your suggestion or your opinion, might be how to say an extra reason to consider being and attending international events and fairs, and not only international but national as well, in order to keep warm the place, let's say, and
I agree.
and not losing the hope for such an important market in terms of consumptions, in consumption, and in terms of being open to the wines which are not produced locally, which is the case of UK. So looking forward to meeting you again. And if you have any other thought that you would like to share with our public, I would be more than happy to.
I have two thoughts. The first thought is that the London Wine Fair is for the UK. It's not an international wine fair as such, not like Provine or Wine Paris. It's something where producers exhibit in order to be listed in the UK. And I think it works. I'll certainly be there next month with Greek producers. trying to get them distribution. When it comes to the wine drinking public in Romania, I think in Romania you're doing a very good job. Sadly for us, all the really good wines, of which there are many, many, many. I mean, you're one of the largest wine producers in Europe, and certainly, in my view, the most successful in the region, in your region. I think you're doing a great job of drinking your own wine. I wish you would send some this way, because Romanian wine has never been better, and I think wine producers need to get together and to promote Romanian wine, promote their regions, promote their grapes, promote their blends, until there's a take-up in the marketplace, and then traction happens. It's a slow process, but it's worth it.
Love it. Thank you so much, Demetri. And good luck with your producers during the London Wine Fair, and looking forward to see you next year with the Romanian wineries.
Hopefully before. Anyway, mulțumesc. And la revedere, everyone. Sorry, I can't remember my Romanian. I used to speak a bit, but it's gone. It was 30, 40 years ago. 40 years ago. God, I'm getting old. Anyway.
Some more Fetească neagră needed. So
I think a lot more, yes.
Happy Easter and happy holidays if you are celebrating, and take care. And,
I shall be.
Talk to you soon.
See you.
Bye.
Bye-bye.